Sure. Welcome back. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live, drop videos. Welcome back to Sharp Edge News TV. I hope everybody's doing well. Welcome back. All right, we have a fantastic show lined up for you today. Of course, in our special, we're probably going to mention the passing of the Pope Francis. Of course, we're going to talk about the CBEX scammers exposed. We're going to talk about the losers that Donald Trump wants to lower the rate. We're going to talk about the big societal wedding that Iyabo Ojo had for her daughter over the last weekend. And again, some other stuff around the world. Without any further ado, do me a favor. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, get ready to welcome a man of two powerful roles, publisher of SharpEdgeNews.com, High Chief or Dokwetu of Ayidi Ogbese, Ondo State. Whether in the newsroom or the kingdom, he's always a sharp edge ahead. Give it up for the legend, Chief Oladimeji Abitogun. Welcome, sir.
Hola, it's so good to be back. Happy Easter season to everyone. Deliberately, I'm using the word season because whether you're talking of Easter Sunday, we hardly observe Easter Monday in the United States, but I also know that there is that tradition all over Nigeria where expectedly Christians will be told that they will be meeting Jesus, the resurrected Jesus Christ in Galilee this Monday. So picnic everywhere, lots to eat and drink in celebration of the triumph of life over death and the ultimate promise of eternal reign with the creator of the world through his son, Jesus Christ. That said, so good to be back and wonderful to be one of those who share and revel in the experience of being resurrected with the risen Christ. Good to be
Absolutely.
back.
Welcome, sir. You meant to say Galilee. Today is Galilee.
Yeah, that's a Galilee. Yeah, but you know,
today we're going to Galilee.
Yeah, you know, in our childhood years, one experience we had because the back of the church, the church where we grew up, countryside, Ayidi Ogbese, that was our London, that was our DC, Washington DC, everything to us when we were growing up. You remember there were what's it called? This plant, teak tree. We did not even know that it was called a teak and that it was of economic benefit to human beings. We only remember that the leaf, when you rub hard between the two palms of your hands, the leaves will be dripping blood-like, that is blood-like fluid, sap. And we were told that was the blood that was coming from the pierced side of Jesus Christ while on the cross. That was the only thing that was having a spiritual connection, but we were looking forward to seeing Jesus Christ there the way it was not. I mean, the tomb was empty, and he was not also physically present in Galilee, but in spirit, he was there because there would always be plenty to eat, to pass around. Every household would have cooked and would have brought something. You know, I grew up as an Anglican child, the Church of England, the Nigerian Communion of Faith. So we had plenty to eat. That was the only thing that really registered in the mind of youngsters like us about Jesus, whom we were told they could wrought the miracle of feeding thousands, the highest being 5,000 at a time. So, and that even as a child, he could, call forth food for his peers. So, at Galilee, or the picnic ground of Easter, for Easter, every Monday while we were growing up, and I think that is still the tradition today. I can imagine that back at the church in Iyabo Ojo this morning, there must have been some whining and dining. So the experience abides, you know.
All right.
It endures. That's the way we met it, and that's the way it's always been. I don't know of other churches. I know that I was told that the Christ Apostolic Church people, when they go to Galilee, they pray and pray and pray and pray. That is another experience. So it's not about food alone.
Well, growing up, for me, growing up in multiple different denominations, we ended up in a white garment church between probably my ages of 6 and 9 or so. That white garment church on Galilee, they staged a drama, and it was fun times, drama, food, and all of that. It was a fun time from what I remember. I also remember spending some Galilee period in Iyabo Ojo, where they would dance around town. They would do, there were all kind of
dancing around
activities.
Town would be, dancing around town. Let's talk about that a little. Would be.
Let's go into our special, and then you can talk about it in it.
Yeah, we will. But okay,
just go ahead into your special. So right now we're entering the special SharpEdge News Report special. Of course, I'm sure you're going to touch on the strange passing of I don't know if it's strange, but on Easter Day or something like that, a day after Easter.
Symbolic.
Day. Symbolic. Okay. Okay. All right. So symbolic. Let's call it symbolic. So, welcome back to the weekly SharpEdgeNews.com special report. You can take it away, sir, and then we can talk about it.
Thank you very much. Our mind goes out to the close to 1.4 billion Catholic faithfuls all over the world. This morning at about 7:30 local time in Rome, the Pontiff, Pope Francis, born Mario by Italian parents in Argentina, transited into eternal glory. He was the Pope who came to the papal throne in 2013 after the passing of his immediate predecessor, Pope Benedict. And he chose on purpose to reign as Pope Francis after Francis of Assisi, a man who abandoned all the trappings of wealth and prosperity of the material world to embrace the gospel and minister to the poor in a special way. And when Pope Francis got into the papacy, what did he champion? He said the poor church, that the church must be inward looking and look at its place and its role, that the poor church must now position to serve the poor originally, which was what Jesus came for. I have heard of some twisted and warped opinion in some Nigerian newspaper this morning. A certain individual saying that Christianity started and was looked down upon as a terrorist organization. No, no, no. There was no such thing about Christianity. On the contrary, before, Christians were called followers of Christ or Christians in Antioch. If you go into the Acts of Apostles, I may not be, I'm not a preacher, I'm just a journalist. But if you go into the Acts of Apostles, authored by a certified physician of that age, otherwise known as St. Luke's, he wrote the Gospel according to St. Luke, and then he capped it with what would be the second installment to read, Acts of Apostles. He said in Antioch, Christians were first called Christians or the followers of Christ. He said they were called followers of the way. And to certify that these people were specially chosen, whoever cares should go into Acts of Apostles chapter 2. The famous argument by the well-established teacher of law, professor of law, Gamaliel, who himself was the teacher of law to somebody that famously became Paul from Saul of Tarsus. So Gamaliel was somebody who first said, let these people thrive. If this is of men, it will not fly. But if it's of God, it will really succeed. Now, whoever is peddling this heresy about Christianity starting as, and we are not defending or pushing any apologetics here, whoever is pushing that theory that Christianity started as a terrorist organization is dead wrong. That is not true. This was famously pushed by some Mr. Shobowale in some article earlier today. That is all wrong. Nobody should have that. If I have had that as a journalist, I do not belong to any Rosicrucian or Amok order. But as a journalist, I went covering the biennial conference of Amok in Nigeria, and I had the late Minister of Justice and Attorney General of Nigeria speak there, the late Chibola Ige, saying that yes, he got it that because Christians were driven underground, they had to communicate with symbols like fish, this and that they had to code just because they were an endangered group, until Nero himself had a vision of the cross and had to embrace Christianity and made it the official religion of the Roman Empire. Yeah, that in itself did not suggest that they were a terrorist organization. However, there have been terrorists who later followed Jesus Christ. For example, the man known famously in Christianity as Judas Iscariot. As a zealot, what he wanted was a political revolution. I'm not here to defend him. He betrayed Jesus and committed suicide. But pay attention to his last name. His last name Iscariot means dagger. Dagger used to be carried famously by people in his family who felt they could throw away the overlordship, the colonization of Roman Empire. So that was their own passion. Yes, Jesus sought to convert all these people into the way, to make them see that the kingdom of God endured better or best. But they chose the kingdom of this, and because Jesus would not give them the earthly political order they desired, he was betrayed. And now he has reigned, he has continued to reign eternally as foretold by prophets and the books. That is that. Now, all I was going to mention the issue of waking up very early during Easter and having procession.
Yes, the procession.
That used to be an Easter morning special itself in Nigeria and in many places across the southwest in Nigeria.
Right.
Famously, the late Mama Elizabeth Fashaki, Adeyibinu Fashaki, Ni Faloye, the same famous Faloye that you know from Obaile and all over Akure, was the lay woman president, Iyabo Ojo of St. Andrew's Anglican Church. Supposedly, she would be the first person to see the resurrected Jesus Christ in Iyabo. And then
by waking up at what time?
Usually it could be 4 a.m. But you know, according to the books, Jesus must have woken up around them. They didn't say precisely, but it should have been the dawn of that day, maybe 12 midnight, arriving the new day. But 4 a.m., Mama Adeyibinu Fashaki Ni Faloye, who was the mother of the late Mrs. Florence. If I remember, the husband of the daughter later became the Anglican Bishop of Kwara Diocese. When I remember the name, I would tell you. But that man was also a catechist in Iyabo before he grew through the ranks and became. He was the bishop that followed the former Archbishop Aruna of Kwara Diocese. So the husband came from Emurele near Owo. So very famous name, but I can't easily recall it now. But the son of that man is the current Anglican Bishop of Oke-Osun Diocese in Nigeria. Mama would start the day and everybody would join. Ojinde, he has resurrected, and it was so real to all of us. And then we'll pick the drums, all the churches will unite and we'll dance around.
Around the village.
Around the community. And then at the peak of it, say around 5:30 a.m., somehow, coincidentally, we would all be dispersed when we had danced and been spent dancing and celebrating the resurrection of Jesus Christ. Coincidentally, every year, we will be scattered by this heavy shower, heavy rain, and then we will all go back home.
Oh, wow.
Whenever we woke up, it will be time to go to church, and the rice, chicken, whatever thing had been prepared by the mothers in each of the households, and then we will be regaled in our best cloth. Remember, that is the hope for Christians to live eternally. And we were always reminded whenever we lost dear ones, why are you crying? Always, imprinted in our on our mind by St. Thomas Aquinas. Wondering why Christians often cried inconsolably when their ones are lost. After all, we said we will meet at resurrection, at the last judgment day. So if that hope is there, that we'll meet again. So why should anybody cry endlessly over the transition of another person? So this morning, when we woke up to the news of the passing of Pope Francis, what I felt in my mind is that for this man who did so much, remember his message to the world yesterday at Easter that was read on his behalf was that everywhere, everyone should be nice to migrants, that they should not be treated as if they are the miserable or the rejected of the earth. That was the major thrust of his message yesterday. And then he also he spoke of peace in Gaza and the Sahel. That is, the arid portion of Africa, and so many other things. He was one bishop, one pope that said, yes, what's it called? There must be a place of inclusion, more inclusivity for women, for people who have different, what's it called? Sexual orientation, like LBJQ and the alphabet community. Yes, the fact that you do not believe that this God is God for all. The church cannot exclude that group. They can also be blessed and given the sacrament that is the Holy Communion. So he embraced inclusivity and preached all that. That is the Pope that has just departed, and we join. Instead of mourning, is celebrating his worthy legacies and life.
Yes. Thank you so much for that special. His cause of death is recorded to be.
It's recorded. It's recorded to be stroke and massive, irretrievable heart failure. Yes.
Gotcha.
Irretrievable heart failure. That's what the Vatican just released a couple of hours ago. And isn't that instructive? In Africa, you never know what anybody is going through, especially people who are serving in public offices. When they die, it remains a mystery. See, today, nobody will tell you what actually killed Sani Abacha. They will not tell you how this and that. And remember, in an exclusive interview, when the late Dora Akuyili, as Minister of Information, touched on the probability of whether whatever Umaru Yar'Adua was battling with was age-related. When she told me that exclusively in an interview, the next Federal Executive Council meeting she attended in Nigeria became a problem and she was dropped. And she thought, it was a setup that I was used to sting her. No. No. People should just operate on the same page as leaders with citizens. Simple. And the citizens can always remember you in their prayers and have some positive thoughts about the situations you are going through. Know that you are ultimately, in the final analysis, a fellow human being.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified. Don't forget, coming up, we have CBEX scams, the loser that Donald Trump is asking to lower the rate, and we have the Iyabo Ojo review. We'll be right back. Let's see. All right, welcome back. A quick shout out to Blossom Show. Happy Easter Monday to you, sirs, and all the viewers. Happy Easter Monday to you. I appreciate you for being here. Now, let's get into this CBEX scammers exposed. Jail time coming for these influencers. I'm looking at a report here on The Nation. Ponzi influencers, bloggers risk imprisonment, a new tight regulation. Nigeria's apex capital market regulator, Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) has issued a stern warning to celebrities, social media influencers, and bloggers over the promotion of unregistered and fraudulent investment schemes. The commission has also reminded the public that the recently signed Investment and Securities Act (ISA) 2025 prescribes stiff penalties for violations, including jail terms and heavy fines. Let me just go to the review of what happened. Okay, so over the past weekend, we had a situation, maybe the past few days, we had a situation where a bunch of people on the internet, on social media, on TikTok were crying because they had lost trillions of dollars. About, I think they said $3 trillion or something like that, that was lost into a Ponzi scheme known publicly as CBEX, where people were promised to double their money in 1 month, in 30 days. And a lot of people lost money into that situation. So I guess SEC is responding to that. I'm reading here, it says, beyond the fight against Ponzi scheme, the law also brings digital assets under the regulatory oversight. Because honestly, a lot of skit makers, a lot of content creators, they will give them some money to promote these things. Of course, their followers would tend to be gullible and they will sign up for, especially in an environment where, Nigeria, there's a lot of hungry people, literally. Dr. Agama said these initiatives have become even more critical in the wake of the collapse of CBEX, a digital investment platform accused of defrauding Nigerians of over 1.3 trillion naira. CBEX reportedly lured investors with promises to double their funds within a month and falsely claimed international affiliations. The SEC, he assured, is determined to shut down such operations and bring their promoters to justice. So, sir, do you recall the MMM, sir? Do you know what we're talking about here? Can you speak to us?
I know. In fact, before MMM, there was the incident of the prominent Chief Duro Olabi, who floated a Forum Savings and Loans, the Forum Group in those days. And while that of Duro Owolabi, who was, having a meteoric rise in the public in Nigeria, almost all of a sudden, this man who was an accountant with a famous news publishing outlet started the forum savings and loans and mortgage thing, and then it becomes a money doubling stuff. But his own was that, according to the investigations we carried out later, his own was such that he was promised, as he was making huge investments in real estate. Remember, those were the times the Oka coup was staged in Nigeria, and the then military president, Ibrahim Badamasi Babangida, moved the seat of power to Abuja completely. So Duro Owolabi are taking money bank with him to invest in real estate sector, thinking that embassies and what have you would be told in one fell swoop to move to Abuja, and then there could be patronage for those things, and then money will. But the embassies, we were told, said they would not listen to the Nigerian government. Rather, whatever directives that were given by their own government will be what will they hold in the circumstance. And so it was almost like that. Good money, good cash there went went down the drain, and there was this long wait. Over that, people committed suicides and properties were seized. Remember the man that was known as money lender in Akure, who aspired to become the king of Akure at the time, Ileri Oluwa, seized some property belonging to Chief Duro Owolabi, at some Chief Duro Pius Owolabi. At some point, Duro Owolabi ended in exile, and we won't talk too much about the manner in which he escaped from Nigeria, but we knew all the details.
Wow.
We know all the details. However, the MMM thing, Nigerians often fly. It's not just MMM thing. If I mention a prominent church, a well-known Pentecostal church that sold people through their savings and loans hand, that some people dummy, and a particular pastor of that church was really making millions, helping himself with subscribers
by introducing people to it.
Yes, the late Oba David Folagbade Olatero Olagbegi even bought into that scheme, but thank God he did not lose money. He was able to get some property. But you see what these people do. They, like these CBEX people, they will canvass people initially, and it's almost like what we often call it in America, that pyramid scam.
Pyramid scheme, yeah.
Yes, you bring somebody. If that person brings 2 or 3 more, he or she is given some reward.
You get bonus.
You get bonus, and then they continue to expand the base, and people are joining. And before you know it, some people actually will cash out initially. But you see, beyond those people that are used ultimately as bait, mark that word. It's almost like you go fishing and you set that trap for the fish to swallow it up, hook, line, and sinker, and then the fish finds itself out of water. That is what often happens with this CBEX of a thing. I remember before I left Nigeria, was it like, the last time I was there 2.5 years ago, before I left 2.5 years ago. Yeah, somebody came and was pushing this kind of deal towards us about Bitcoins and what have you. And then my younger brother, who happens to be one of our directors in Nigeria, cautioned me that big bros, you can be highly emotional when things like this happen to you. Why don't you just face your journalism and stay out of this? And he doesn't jump at anything, even when people say come and take contract, give us upward stuff of 20%. He rules against it. Sometimes I may be tempted to wonder, but he is a thoroughbred project and IT manager. He cautions me, and I listen to all of you in my circle. It was duly cautioned.
To be
And so when
honest, it's enticing. To be honest, it's
yeah,
enticing.
but
You know.
honestly, if one thing is this one that the NSC, the Agama of NSC is just saying that if it sounds too true, then it may not be true and all that. NSC, instead of
You
being
mean
proactive,
SEC?
no, the stock exchange or whatever they call it, security exchange rather. The
SEC,
security
yeah,
exchange.
SEC.
Yes,
Yeah.
they are reactive instead of being proactive.
Right.
Well, they have pushed all kinds of untenable arguments about this CBEX thing, and none of them is holding water. I mean, for some people somewhere to have penetrated Nigeria like this. Remember, we mentioned Chief Duro Owolabi. Duro Owolabi is a Nigerian. I don't know if he's still alive in Britain, where he escaped to in exile in those years. I don't know if he's still there, but that is a Nigerian. But these ones, they dropped all kinds of names, Canada, wherever that they claim to have come from. And the checks show that they actually acquired what's it called? The incorporation certificate from the Corporate Affairs Commission, CAC in Abuja, and other things that they push towards the public. Then they even were able to make certain citation validation from EFCC. So it therefore means that several Nigerian officials at multi-layers took their eyes off the ball. Under their watch, you know, what is called national security is all a genetic thing about military that we all focus on. You must be able to secure the country in all spheres. You understand the point I'm making? So financial security is part of the deal. Financial security is part of the deal. Monetary security, policy security is part of the deal. But under the watch of the current government and successive administrations in Nigeria, it is so easy for anybody to
1.3 trillion naira was carried away just like that.
That is some cool money. Like an accidental lawmaker once said, now I know I'm making cool money in Nigeria. That is what's of foreign interest. So these people, the territorial aggression that we're talking about, what do they think it amounts to? It's the territorial invasion, territorial aggression against Nigerians and Nigeria. And all that money is gone now. These ones that they are saying, oh, how would the investors make their money back and serving? They are always assuring us all the time. Nobody needs any vague assurance anymore. They should, yes, this is where instead of sending their media attack dogs to fly the idea, the funny idea, the discredited idea of NIA, National Intelligence Agency, which is the equivalent of CIA in Nigeria, that they can go against what's it called? Dissident people who disagree with the administration internationally and start killing them. And I know what I'm talking about. Some stupid and really retarded journalists have been flying that idea that, oh, if somebody insults the president of Rwanda, the Rwandan international intelligence something would smoke them out and cream them and kill them, which is a surreptitious, which is a subtle way of selling the idea that whoever criticizes Nigerian leadership should be sorted out and killed wherever they live overseas. That is not what any responsible government should want to do. That you want to be killing your citizens who disagree with you internationally. Rather, this is one busy time. This should be one busy time for NIA. They should combine their efforts with Central Bank, the Security Exchange Commission, all of them, and EFCC, the Interpol, and trace these people. There must be a trail wherever that money can be found, and the individuals behind it. That is when we will know that we have a pro-citizen government, we have a pro-citizen National Intelligence Agency in NIA that can always stand for the defense of Nigerians and Nigeria's territorial integrity. When that is done, everybody will be able to give kudos to Bola Tinubu. Don't forget, under the watch of Bola Tinubu, there has been several aberrations. People coming, gendarmes, and all kinds of terrorist individuals and bandits invading Nigeria, killer herdsmen, going to places like Benue, Plateau. Early this morning, earlier today, there was a peace procession. Instead of people celebrating the resurrection of Christ today in places like Plateau, what were they doing? On funeral, on procession, peace procession, and as at the last count, somebody has just died. Instead of anybody borrowing a word from Ari Belafonte's song, Banana Boat Song, Mr. Taliban, tally me banana. What they are telling us in Nigeria is the Taliban is telling us body count. No, that's how not to be the situation. What we want to see is them telling us good governance, good economic fortune. So in places like River State, in places like Plateau, Benue, and all over, what do we find in this season? Despondency instead of hope. And resurrection, Easter is supposed to bring hope. They just write it, it doesn't mean anything to them. So whether it is CBEX, whether it is about some good work for security people to do in Nigeria, at you remember what T.Y. Danjuma just said at the launch of his, and T.Y. Danjuma, by the way, let's just give him kudos. Apart from having a university, now he's been able to set up, what's it called, hydropower thing in Taraba State, and they are now able to generate electricity. He's doing his best, but he said something. Nigerians should begin to defend themselves. So, and some people are saying, oh, that is a panacea for anarchy. Anarchy is already staring you in the face. People will come into your country, will cream off your citizens 1.3 trillion. You don't know that is anarchy? I mean, all kinds of foreign invaders will come into your country and kill your citizens anyhow. You don't know that you have anarchy on your hand. So whatever anybody can do, making sure you control your greed, your personal greed. Somebody is telling you, go and invest, come and invest 1 million, you will make 2 million. That is not how to grow money. It is not easy. Yes, some people can grow it better. We have tried it before. Yes, we grew it better. But to think that it will always work like that, not through some people trying to scam you, you must stay off it. And when they give you that call, if it sounds too good, oh, somebody has forgotten some loot in Wema Bank in Nigeria, that money is traced to Abacha, can you give us the account details, we want to transfer that money to you. Tell them that somebody is going to do ablution and they do their funeral 4 p.m. today. Let them run away from you. Scare them off too. You know the point I'm making. You need to cause them out that you are not looking for cheap money. So if they are not queuing into your greed factor, this CBEX tragedy, this CBEX fiasco would not easily have happened. But people like Agama should wake up. The NIA should wake up. You know, Nigeria must be defended from all fronts. That's my submission.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Do me a favor, join the conversation in the
the body count this morning in Benue State is 72. So 72 at the last count. People that were massacred for no justifiable reason, and there can't be any reason, any justification for massacre or pogrom or genocide.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, yeah. Let's just everybody just join the conversation. Shout out to Marriott. He said I want some of the 1.3 trillion naira. Okay, all right, Marriott. But shout out to you. I appreciate you for being here.
And Marriott should not be looking forward to making a profit of things that really cause pain to people like that.
I'll just say this.
I understand the humor.
Yes. I'll just say this. Just so it doesn't look like I'm just quiet on this issue right here on SharpEdge News TV.
Sorry, Ola, a quick update. The bishop I was trying to remember, Bishop Fabulu, Yeah.
Fabuluje, I know that name. Yeah.
Yes, Fabuluje, very prominent in
Yep.
Emurele. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
So if somebody is let me ask you this question and then we'll leave it there. If somebody
Right.
comes to you and said, I have this investment, all you have to do is donate your money and I'll bring you double in 30 days. What would you say to that person?
No, 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 no.
You don't want money. What do you mean? No, no,
I
no.
want money, but not that kind of money. I mean, if anything like that can be done, I'm not. I'm not. I'm not. I'm not retarded. If anybody can do it, I can do it. I mean, that's just it. But even when I used to lead an investment, what's it called, forum like that, the best I promised them on whatever they invested was 10%.
All right, I'll say this. Sogundogoji ni Yoruba ń pè.
Yes.
Your money is about to fly away from you. That's all it means. You know,
Ola, we didn't get to where we are today. I mean, they said the child is the father of the man. 1986, somebody came. I think maybe they called him Sepa or something. He said, "Oh, he could double money," and then we gave all that we had for our breakfast or whatever. We had just left high school, and then he started conjuring like a magician. Said, "Do not open this envelope, wrap it, wrap in white loin for a certain number of days." And then I followed religiously what the guy said. And when I took the envelope to somewhere, where we had a mango plantation at the back of our house in Iyabo in those days. And then I opened the envelope. What did I meet inside? No money. It was a stack of neatly cut, what do you call it?
Papers.
Loose sheets. No money in it. So we have tested that part, and we know
for the record, sir.
Yeah.
For the records, those type of schemes are here, and there are many of them.
Yes. It's called in America here. It's almost. I mean, it's what is called being sold snake oil, or somebody wants to sell you. Somebody wants to sell you World Trade Center.
But particularly those type with investment linked, usually these days they are often linked to cryptocurrency. They are often linked to some kind of digital platform. Sometimes when they say you are getting returns on your money, all you are looking at is a dashboard on your phone, and you think your money is growing, until one day all of that will affect your psyche. And if you're not very careful, if you're not content, if you're not in a very strong place, you can easily fall for this kind of things, especially when there's a rampant preaching of cutting edge technology that is about to be the biggest transfer of wealth in history. If you start to hear things like that, you just know that. I remember the .com. Ask them too. Do you remember the .com bust?
Until the .com actually went colors.
So that's not to say, but this is the key thing: value. If the only value you're bringing to people is multiplying of the money or potential pain in the future, please, let's just be guarded in these things. You're going to see many of them, and I get it. It might seem like you're about to lose opportunities. Just please be careful. Make sure there's actual value. Yes, generational wealth, Marriott, exactly. Anyway, join the conversations in the chat. Hit the like button, share, subscribe. We have some other trendy stories around the world. We will be right back. All right, welcome back. Loser, Trump blast Fed Chair Powell in public meltdown. I'm looking at a report right here on I'm looking at it on CNBC. It says Trump ramps up attacks on Powell, demands loser Fed chair lower rates now. This was a report from this morning. And it says President Donald Trump on Monday ratcheted up his pressure campaign on Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, calling him a major loser and warning that the U.S. economy could slow down unless interest rates are lowered immediately. And I quote, preemptive cuts.
That is not what is going to lower. It is this inconsistency that is affecting this economy. Now it's putting it on
exactly. It's the finger pointing for me. And I quote preemptive.
I'm sorry. I couldn't contain my sense of humor about it anymore.
And I quote, preemptive cuts in interest rates are being called for by many. Trump wrote on Truth Social. Okay, so I guess he's spending time on Truth Social. I need to find.
His personal bubble.
Oh, I need to have a presence up there. I don't care. I'm going to go find my presence up there. Trump claimed that there is currently virtually no inflation in the U.S. And I quote, virtually no inflation in the U.S. and that costs for energy and I quote, most other things are on the decline. And I quote, with this cost trending so nicely downward, just what I predicted they would do. There can almost be no inflation, but there can be a slowing of the economy unless Mr. Too Late, a major loser, lowers interest rate now, Trump wrote. Trump's latest salvo against Powell, whom he appointed during his first administration, came as the president and his team are studying whether they can legally fire the central bank leader before his term expires in May 2026. What do you say to this, sir? Let me get your take on this.
Thank God Mr. Jerome Powell himself spoke last week, saying that if President Donald Trump says he should leave office, that he would not resign. And constitutionally, Donald Trump does not have the power to fire.
Sorry, can you repeat what you just said?
Constitution. He said he's been threatening for a while that he will fire Jerome Powell as the head of the Fed. And Powell said last week that if he was asked to resign by
Donald Trump,
he would not leave office. He would not resign.
Right.
And Donald Trump does not have any constitutional power to fire him. What he wants to do, yes, he's being manipulative here, and he wants to turn everybody to a pawn to be pushed around. In his, he himself does not even understand the name, the nature and the scope of the chess game in which he is taking part. He is leading it all, and so inconsistent. If there is going to be any inflation, if there is going to be any recession because of this, it will be because of Donald Trump's inconsistent economic signals. He does not really have a coherent policy on the economy. Some guys, like it was said then about 2025 thing, put this together, trusted it, and if it sounds good, to make him look like, oh, he is macho enough, he's strong enough as a strong man that he wants to be. He signs up for it. He has very little understanding of the macroeconomic dynamics and fundamentals. And so when he opens his mouth to say something, wherever it leads, he does not care. Now he has seen where this is leading. He's already finger pointing. He's already blaming it on the man he is calling loser. In his world, he does not understand that this is beyond what's it called? The apprentice of NBC that I used to anchor. Everybody is a loser. You are fired, and all. This is more than that. In real life situations, which is what he is really facing. That mentoring that was all warped and twisted, in which he was raised to always be in denial and shift blame on people, is beginning to close in on him. Now he knows that the buck stops on his desk, and then he must sacrifice and throw Jerome Powell. He must throw him under an 18-wheeler for sees mistakes that are practically his own. And on all fronts, he is being resisted. And even when the courts tell him that he is wrong, whether on immigration, whether on unwarranted and baseless purge of civil service and unappreciative attitude towards people who have sacrificed a whole lifetime serving this country, he doesn't get it. And I hope he gets it with this. There is always a constitutional limit to everything. And that is why he is going to find out very soon. Already they are dangling the possibility of, what's it called? Criminal whatever against him and some of his operatives for the way in which they have been defying court rulings and orders. And he knows that. He knows that. But the feds know when it comes to fixing interest rate, they know what to do. They know how to lower it and how not to lower it. He wants to dictate.
He wants to manipulate it.
That is what he wants to do. And because these people, remember, they just didn't pick their degree from the mail. They know what they are doing. Thoroughbred economists. So they are pushing back and they are letting him they are allowing him to understand his constitutional limits. But you know what? When a dog wants to go amiss, no matter how hard the hunter whistles, the dog will not listen. I hope this guy is listening.
Yeah, I think he's trying to manipulate the system. I see Marriott here says he tanked my options. I guess she's talking about stock options today. So there's all this irregular. The market thrives off of patterns over an extended period of time.
This guy's pattern is so inconsistent.
There's no patterns.
No,
because it's manipulating it.
And people cannot really put a handle on anything right now. You say, oh, this tariff will go this morning. Later in the afternoon, he said, oh, that is not going to stay. Oh, no deal with it. And I don't even know why people are kissing up to him and they're offering him all kinds of deals. He wants to play a smart politician. He creates the problems and then he pretends to be looking for solutions. Solution my foot.
Yeah. So let us know. I mean, join the conversation in the chat below. We're going to continue to follow, but you can see here that there is a trend. There's an actual pattern here in terms of Donald Trump's behavior.
Yeah, the pattern is that of
manipulation.
The pattern is that of being inconsistent, and then it therefore means that there is no pattern.
There's behavioral pattern.
Yeah, the behavioral pattern is what we can just say that okay, this is consistent with his personality. You know. Yeah, he loves to pretend to be a billionaire. Remember, months back, I told you, I do not see that aura of being a successful billionaire in this man. He's
going to get all of us rich. He's going to get all of us rich by being emotional. I guess that's what we're counting on.
Let us put on this, like Idi Amin would say, talking of shortcut. In this one, let us say is cut short to be seen as part of billionaires group. Is having Elon Musk around him every time. So that is his cut short, not shortcut. It's cut. Like Idi Amin would say. No, don't say short.
It's cut short. It's cut short.
It's cut short.
Cut short. Voila.
All right. It's cut short. Yeah.
All right. Your camera moves, sir. Let's just see if we can straighten that back up. Hit like, share, subscribe, follow, turn up your notifications. Make sure.
Do we have it right now?
Yeah. It's good. It's good to go. All right.
Yeah.
And turn up your notifications so you know. If I join the conversation in the comment in the chat, we'd like to know what your thoughts are. Let's move on to other trendy stories around the world. We'll be right back. Welcome back. Let me see. Welcome back. We're talking about Iyabo Ojo and the societal big wedding that they had over the past weekend. It's been trending. I think the trend kind of slowed down this morning, but even up to now, we still have many people talking about it. But I thought the chief would be able to speak to some of this
Yeah,
stuff.
well, I don't know if this is about the Iyabo Ojo per se or the daughter that got married. Is she Priscilla? What's
that's
her
a
name?
that's a good point that you picked up. But wait, let me give you some gist real quick, and then I'll let you take it away. Okay. But let me answer that question. Is it about Iyabo Ojo or about Priscilla Ojo and Juma
Yeah,
Jux?
that's
I
right.
think,
They were the ones that got married, but this suddenly became about, and it's part of the cruise.
well,
It's because
I think in our culture, in our culture as Nigerians, I think it's about Iyabo Ojo, maybe slightly about Juma Jux because he's also a super powerful person and popular person in Tanzania. It doesn't take away from Priscilla, who is also Iyabo Ojo's daughter. But let me read this to you, and then I really want to get your take on this, right? There's this report on Daily Times Nigeria. It says the wedding of Priscilla Ajoke Ojo, daughter of Nollywood actress Iyabo Ojo and Tanzania music star Juma Jux, has been described as the most glamorous celebrity union of 2025 so far, blending Nigerian opulence with East African elegance. The celebration were nothing short of a cultural spectacle and a symbol of African unity. All right, so they have multiple different events that has been going on, but in this last weekend they had a pre-wedding glamour. They had over the last 8 months, because they met only 8 months ago. They've had a pre-wedding glamour and proposal. They've had a Tanzania Nikai ceremony on February 7, 2025. They've had a Yoruba traditional wedding in Lagos. That was April 17, 2025, which is just a few days ago. And of course, they had the white wedding on, I think that was on Saturday or Sunday. And they have one, according to Iyabo Ojo, there's one more event coming up in Tanzania. It's been a big deal. But here, our title says Iyabo Ojo and ex reunite for Priscilla's wedding to Juma Jux. So there's been a lot of talk around the fact that they were single parents, and somehow they reunited together. I wonder you to speak to that. Whatever comes to your mind.
For me, I know as a father, at some point, that responsibility, that duty will be there. And for anybody that has had to deal with situation of a broken relationship, it often looks like, the spouses involved would become two parallel lines that will never meet. But because of the children, the paths would always cross. Remember how I paraphrased what Obafemi Awolowo said when he was to quit the administration, the cabinet of General Yakubu Gowon. In that resignation letter, he said, if we are related, we would meet. If we are related, we would always meet. And when a man and a woman have whether cohabited or have been married, and then there is a breakup, the relationship, the connecting thing that would always bring them together would be the children in their lives. Too bad if no child is involved. Very unfortunate, but it still doesn't make it less important too, that some things would always make their paths to cross. So I see an element of mischief in the headline that says that they reunite. Reunite for what? It is natural for the father of this lucky bride to come around and lead the hand to the altar. Basically, that is what. But you know the way we.
Let me interject you real quick, sir. You said it is natural, but I want you to juxtapose that with a couple of examples, maybe one. There was the wedding. there was a wedding of
Talking
the
about this
daughter.
daughter. Talking
No,
about
that
this daughter.
so that's two. Let me give you the first. Okay, let me go with that one first. There's the Tope
Mm-hmm.
Alabi daughter. That one is quite different because she was actually raised by somebody else. But there's another one which is Pastor Chris Oyakilome's daughter. After the separation from the wife and the divorce, the
Mm.
daughter had a wedding, and the wife was not present at the wedding that was made public to everybody. So now that you said it's pretty natural, that would be the woman who was not at the wedding that is public, right? But also for the Tope Alabi situation, what do you mean by natural? Killer mean? As in, like,
See,
where is the
the
exception here?
natural place of the father is to lead the daughter's hand during such a moment. But you know, some people have this personality that is so difficult to really define. They just want to push themselves in that space that, I did this, I did that. You cannot take the shine off the father of the bride or the father of any child, whether at graduation or whatever. If what you're going to do is to begin to want to flex and show that you are something, that father or mother, they reserve the right to want to say, okay, I step back, let him lap it up. But ultimately, that blessing, the blessings that come from the true biological parents, it's never going to come. Ultimately, there will be a time to reckon with the relevance of any man or any woman. So anybody can pretend to be the
The father and the mother.
Yes, anybody can pretend about it. But what is spiritual, what is traditional, what is normal is to allow for, no matter the circumstance of the breakup, let these people enjoy it. And it does not even matter if somebody else raises the child, because it's not good. Don't think any of the parents view it with what's it called, with pleasure, that they are not there to raise their own children. I mean, their children as they ought to. So, circumstances. For example, how are you going to justify a situation in which a man is pushed aside or a woman is pushed aside because of their economic situation? You know that happens.
So, question, sir.
Some people, for no reason, they are just ashamed of their parents, maybe because that parent has some adversity or some economic misfortune. Some people don't want to just identify with them. But there are some mean-spirited parents too who are just simply irresponsible. May God never make us one such parent.
Question for you, sir. What about a situation where it is actually, I think you just alluded to that, but let me hear it clearly. What about a situation where the child is the one who doesn't want the father there? I've seen a situation, a very close situation, where the daughter is the one who said, this man is not going to walk me down the aisle. He has an invitation if he wants. However, is the person who raised me, my uncle, who will be walking me down the aisle. I've seen that situation. That's one. Two, what about the situation where the man is not interested in being in the life of his kids? In fact, he left a long time ago and he's not really interested. They've actually reached out to him on multiple occasions to participate in his children's life. He's just, for whatever reason, is just not participating. What about those two situations, sir?
Tough posers, but easy answers to them. See, if a daughter would not likely come to that point in which she says, "Oh, I don't want my father to play any role. Let my uncle hold me by the hand," and what have you. Maybe, and God forbid, you don't know if that father was a molester. You do not know if that father was a molester. But if that is not the case, I mean, it would be justified if the father was a molester or a sexual predator against the daughter that would make the daughter want to make such a profound statement that, "Oh, I don't want this father in my life." But if it is about being manipulated, finding herself in a situation in which a mother deliberately on purpose decided to set another narrative apart from the truth of what actually transpired between the two of them. For example, a mother who on purpose would reject a man because of changing circumstance. If that woman is now, or if that man is now pushing a false narrative about what happened, there would always be natural justice, retributive justice, that somewhere along the line, that this man was robbed of his natural place. That is number one.
So if he was robbed, I'm with you on that. If he was robbed, because Marriott is asking in the chat again, how about if he was absent?
What made him absent? For example, some men.
I have an example. This person was actually a drunken master. He was just a guy who is an alcoholic. He was never present when he was there. After the divorce, he still wasn't present, even after they gave him opportunity to participate in his children's life.
All very unfortunate.
So if that child,
wait.
Uh-huh.
On the surface, it looks so simple to say that, oh, somebody is an alcoholic, and then we jump into the conclusion that he is being irresponsible. What?
No. I'm not saying that. Let me finish it. I'm not saying that. That's just happened to be the circumstance, right? Now, I was leading in the direction of the child don't have a relationship. We cannot, obviously, we're not judging the child or even the father, but that's the circumstance, right? They don't have a relationship with this person. The only thing they know is that he's absent. I'll give you a quick example so you can go, sir, and I'll let you round up, sir. Kirk Franklin, right? The greatest gospel singer in the world. Okay. He's 50 something years old, about 54, 55 years old now. He just found his biological father, who all the while lived down the street from him, right? But he's struggling. He met the guy, he was curious, but in terms of the actual relationship, the human brain is a very funny thing. He does not have that relationship, so they have to kind of try to nurture and build that from scratch, because he never knew this guy, because the mother never showed who the actual biological father was, right? He was under the impression it was somebody else. You see what I'm saying? So now those are you are correct, sir. These are extreme situations, but they are actually much more common than we realize. This very simple part of it, the child doesn't feel a sense of closeness, no relationship with the father. So because of that, they can't comprehend the idea that this person is walking me down the aisle.
See, you have set up certain cultural hypotheses about this. Let me tell you, it's so easy for people to set all these things up and get away with it in places like America and United Kingdom. But when you bring it back to our socio-cultural milieu as people of Yoruba race in Africa, what will simply sum it up is this: I hope you can relate with that. People here cannot relate with the fact that ultimately the child's father would always be the father, or the child's mother would always be the mother. Here it's so easy for anybody to manipulate the circumstance and tell whatever cock and bull story and get. For example, you mentioned Kirk Franklin. We all know him. But he was given the consciousness that another person was the father. Now he finds the real biological father. It's happened in the case of a well-known American athlete. The father always prayed for him silently, quietly. He was shut out completely out of the son's life. But the son was a multi-millionaire athlete here. He was one day, he said, he went to the locker room. May I be allowed to see Mr. So-and-so? He never really flaunted it that is the father. And then he got to the presence of his son, and they spoke in whispers, and the boy, that is another swing, another view to the kill. That son, in spite of being a well-known celebrity, calmed down, and said there had always been that hole in his heart, that vacuum somewhere, and at that moment he felt fulfilled, and there was nothing to discuss with the father. Just took him in his car, and they were just driving round and round and round and round and round. What it means, the moral of it is that no matter the circumstance, no matter how fast and how hard falsehood thrives or tribes or runs, truth will take off and catch up and overtake someday. You know, people in the world in which we live, the material world in which we live, people do all sorts of things. I know fathers who are dying to be involved in the lives of their children. I know mothers who are dying to be involved in the lives of their children, but they are never given the opportunity. And this is
that would be a scenario which I agree with you on that. That single mothers who do that, they need to change.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that.
Not just mothers, fathers also. I know fathers who behave as if they are kidnappers. They don't want the mothers of their children to play any role in the lives of the children.
Right,
that is unfair.
Right. So that would be that scenario. I think we all agree on that one.
Yes,
right?
Ultimately, all the point I'm making, if either of the parents die in the circumstance, particularly the one that has been unjustifiably denied access to the children, or the children being denied access to their father, you know, the vacuum, the hollowness will be there for eternity, and there won't be the opportunity of closure. I struggle every day to make sure that I have closure to everything. Call people, no matter the circumstance, whatever you've been told may not be the absolute truth. This is my story. It doesn't matter what anybody else is telling you.
There are three things I want to bring. I guess this is a hot topic. Please engage the conversation in the chat and even after
before you bring that, I find
not now.
No, just please.
Okay.
I find it most appropriate at this point to commend Iyabo Ojo, to celebrate her as a true quintessential Yoruba African mother. In spite of the fact that she and this Mr. Ojo hadn't been together for a long time, never did anything to mess up, to create any fogginess in the kind of relationship that should exist between Priscilla and the father. She indeed is a true woman, and she ought to be celebrated, and I celebrate her. She ought to be celebrated, and I celebrate her. So absolutely. I'm listening. Yes, I don't want to forget that point.
No problem. So you mentioned a couple of things. No matter how far, you see, I'm agreeing with a lot of things you're saying. The place where I think a lot of people struggle, and the struggle comes from a real place. That place is application of all the concepts that you're talking about that I agree to. In terms of how it applies in real life, is I'm reading this comment from Mario. It says, I know a man who went to the US and abandoned all his 3 children, all in their 30s now, pits them against each other when he decides to call. Mom was waiting for him too. It didn't appear this man was absent from his children's lives. You see, just the same point you made earlier on, which is the fact that it's easy to paint a certain picture, right? Until we start to dig through and we start to get into details, and we start to notice that, again, agreeance with you, that it's a lot of muddled up detail in what's transpired in people's lives to make it look the way it looks today, or to create a narrative from one person's perspective, right? So I agree with that. With that being said, we've arrived at a situation where a child doesn't feel a sense of relationship with a father. Now, here's the thing with the father. You said something about a father will be a father. I think we might need to define father.
Or fatherhood.
Or fatherhood. Thank you. You've written a piece about this in the past, sir. I remember that. Aha. So there is a difference between being a biological father and fatherhood. There is something, there's there is some nuances there that we need to fully understand, right? So, and it doesn't mean it's always so a matter of fault that I'm pointing out is a matter of circumstances. So in that case, right, that a person wakes up one day, I'm saying just as much as we are celebrating the Iyabo today, there are certain people that may find themselves in situations. First of all, Iyabo has done some work on herself behind the scenes before we can see the result we're seeing today.
Agreed.
Right. So if we're going to celebrate that, we'll celebrate all of the work she's done on herself to create what we're looking at today. The man himself, we don't have the full detail. I would say kudos to him too, because he can yell with it and just say, hey, give me $10,000, I'll do an interview and cast everybody right now. He can also decide to do that.
that really would be some unusual degree of madness.
It's very common these days. People are casting their family to tell stories.
Episode to catch out.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to hear that story, right? So it's quite enticing for somebody to offer him in his DMs that kind of money, right? I see Mara says it did. Okay, I already read that. So I'm saying when you said truth, what is truth? A part of the truth is the experience that child is having or that they had to come to that conclusion. The experience could have been they were lied to, like you said, right? It could have been a certain narrative, or they were much more exposed to one side of the story, right? So that became their truth. So now we need to define truth as well. What truth is going to last? Do we not know of stories that the truth does not come out until 3 generations later? Or never, but maybe. It's called secrets.
Yeah, you still come back to that point. 3 generations down the line, ultimately, it comes out.
Or never. It's called secrets. I said that. You missed that.
Well, secrets, it's not as if secrets do not come out. Just that you need to allow for time. For example, people are contending about, how did was Abiola murdered? Was he not murdered? Now, all those details cannot be out yet. Remember, I was telling you about how Jonathan was pushed out, the international conspiracy and all that. I said, those things are still classified. Is it that some of us do not know some truth, but that truth, we just keep within us? For example, if anybody, my attitude about some of these things is that if a child doesn't want to embrace you, you don't get desperate about it. There are millions of children out there looking for non-biological fathers, somebody to just play that role in their life. If you are not somebody that is really fixated on, it has to be my biological child or not, somebody will be there. You can put smiles on several people's. You can become father to 1 million children out there that are not related to you biologically, but because of what you do, good causes, they are yours, and they will never forget your impact in their lives. I would console everybody dealing with one situation or the other that makes it so difficult for them to be actively involved in the lives of their children, that they should look for good causes to lash on to. I mean, if you are not selfish, it doesn't, even when those children are around you, if you are blessed enough, let it not be that they are you are confined to that circle alone. Just impact your world, impact people around you. But concerning this one, honestly, I find it so appropriate to celebrate Iyabo Ojo. And for every woman, for every man that has the option, but chooses not to be vindictive, not to weaponize the children in their lives, yes, they will be celebrated in my heart. I have flowers, wreaths for them in my heart. I love people like that. And that is why I love Jesus Christ as well. You know, I love Jesus Christ as well. He had no child in this world, but yet he said, let the children come unto me, forbid them not.
I will also add on to this, and feel free to...
We should not be involving our children in our trouble so much so that we let them miss out on what they should enjoy from people who should play critical roles in their development and in their lives.
Right. I will also add this to what you're saying. I think it's a well-founded advice to single parents. I actually have a 1-hour video I will drop tomorrow at 12 noon. It's already scheduled on this topic. I definitely think that's a well-founded advice for single parents. The other side of that equation is where I want to add something to it, which is there's a gross overestimation of what it means to be a biological father
or mother,
or mother, or even mother at that. If the relationship has been tampered with or tarnished due to your own personal shortcomings, there's consequences for that, and you will have a lot to pay for that. If you did your own part in maintaining relationship, especially in the developing years of your children, they will never forget. It's not even a matter of forgetting. It's part of their identity. There is no such thing as forgetting. Even if they tried.
But haven't you seen some children coming to you, to their parents to say, "Oh, I never remembered you. I never remember you playing any role in our lives."
If again, it's a very
selective memory.
No, it depends. I have to look at the overall big picture here. Is what you just explained, is that possible? Yes. In the short term, it's possible. In the event of some kind of back and forth, it is possible for them to alter certain things. In the overall, in the long run, in the last, there's a way you phrase this thing. In the last analysis,
in the
final analysis, overall, if we are patient, if you were actually an integral part of the development of that person, remember what I just said, not just money. This is just not money. If you were a part of this person's development, even if you're not
always taking your children to the playground, you were there during their concert.
Yes,
you were the one taking them to school, whether you
things
could drive
like that.
You could not drive.
Yes,
and then if you will not remember all that, and you say, "Oh, you have never played any role." You use your last dime to say, "Oh, this is a bicycle for you. This is your football." And then that child says, "Oh, I don't remember you doing anything in my life." So that could be for either a man or a mother.
No, it could be for anybody, for any side of the gender. So, for example, in the beginning, I told you a fond memory that I recalled of me dancing around the community during Easter.
That's right.
You cannot take that away from my brain.
And as somebody comes there, it never happened.
Exactly. What do you mean? Never happened. So
what a shame.
You can say you gave me 50 kobo when I was 9 years old, and I can say it never happened. Minuscule, stupid details like that. Yes.
Yes.
But there's some things that are not. When it comes to emotional development of a person or experience of a person, there are things that are not minutiae like that at all that you can remove from a person's brain. So literally, there's some other things that, if people say some things to you over and over, yes, it can maybe mess with the memory a little bit, but overall.
Let me quickly tickle your sense of humor and memory. When as I came to this country, I remember my first son was about 2 years old, and I had this fortune of interviewing the former head of state of Liberia, the woman that was appointed the head of interim administration there. And that interview took place in the office of the president of Pittsburgh State University. I was decked in a three-piece suit. Pick of code, and I didn't have the resources to get a babysitter for my son Oluwaseun, and I decked him out also in a three-piece suit, tie, everything. And then while interviewing that Liberian head of state, do you know that our personal security details were babysitting Oluwaseun for me?
Yeah.
How do I forget that
You
kind of
can't.
scenario as a father?
So Sean, you can say
carrying him along, or carrying him along to KU to interview
exactly
General Buba Marwa when he was aspiring to become Nigerian president.
Precisely. So you can say, hey, Oluwaseun. You can say, Oluwaseun, in 2013 I gave you 200, and Sean can say, I don't remember that.
No. You don't want to even refer to.
But you know, just as an example, right? But can Sean remember being babysat by some kind of interesting scenery around him?
Yeah, security details to the president of another country.
Exactly. So
the office of the president of a prominent university like that.
So now what I'm saying is that those things is what fathers and mothers, those experiences is what they need to, because some people will say you were never around. There's some spoiled children that will count the number of years you were around because you were out working too.
Yeah, they're not really around. They don't even know that it's part of the sacrifice you have to.
Thank you.
So they don't grow up around in a tense atmosphere.
Thank you. So the accounting time as opposed to, you will have your children count time if you don't have a few of those experiences. But who is counting time? All the time I spent in Owo is no more than 4 years. In my head, it feels like 40 years.
Can you imagine?
Right?
Yeah.
92 to 96, that's about it. But this is so I tell fathers, like, no, like, okay, if something happens and people
part of those years was when I took you your daddy's Mercedes Benz, and then we were visiting this girlfriend.
All that happened in that 4 years.
And we caught her cheating.
All that happened in that 4 years. It feels so many experiences, right? So if we focus on impactful experiences and like if something happens to your relationship with the ex-partner, yes, there will be situations where they will attempt, or not even always directly, just because they are telling their stories in front of their kids and stuff like that. It might seem like they are sowing seeds. If you just remember what I just said today, the experiences cannot be taken away from them. In the short time, it might feel that way because there might be back and forth and stuff like that. If you just rest and know that all is going to be well, in due time. Remember what you said earlier on. The truth is undefeated. The truth is the experience. The truth is not your label as a biological parent. So if you understand, and if you don't get that, if you overreact, you also create another type of experience that they won't forget.
Yes.
So that's really what I wanted to add on to celebrating Iyabo, because what we saw in the last 3 days is worth celebrating, because it feels like there was a 30 years of celebration. It was all 3 days that is going to be gone and we forget, because something else will happen next weekend. But Mara says baby amnesia. So you were dancing up and down in the town square, MOP.
That's right.
Blossom says play your roles as a parent in your children's life. That's the primary responsibility, and allow future posterity to judge. I like that. Blossom also say our prayer as parents is that God should give us merciful children. That's interesting. So yeah, I think it's a bigger topic than there's this sympathy we feel for parents who might have been on the bad end of our custodial battles.
That's right.
And oftentimes when we operate with sympathy, I think we also miss out a big piece of it, and that's that's why I wanted to spend some time, because these children will become individuals on their own, and they will decide off of their experiences.
Thank
Anything else you wanted to add, sir?
No, it's all right. Let us just continue to catch our cruise, and the kind of joy and whatever this what's it called, artists, these actors and actresses, whatever fun they bring our way, let us lap it up, and know that it's part of the reality of the world in which we live in. Sometimes they savage themselves through whatever they call fracas in the social media. We
Mm.
are not part of that. Just for us to make sure that, yeah, we
I
strive
like
on.
I like how you keep saying and mothers or fathers. It could be any side of it. I like how you keep
That's
saying
right.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody should come and play. I mean, some cherubic arrogance here, saying, "Oh, I'm an angel." No, we all are guilty as charged, and yeah, just that. Yeah, yeah, yes, yes. So thank
All
you so
right.
much. Yeah.
Hit like, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications when so that you can know when we're dropping videos. We're always dropping content, so make sure you're plugged in on everything. Quick shout out to Blossom Show, shout out to Marriott, shout out to Life with Natu all the way from Nigeria, plugging in. Natu, don't waste your
Uh,
data. You need your data.
Well, not to my sincere gratitude. We
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that you are part of this community. Thanks so much for always being there with us.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you on the next one. Take care and God bless.